guys and welcome to my channel. My name is Beth and I am the Bookworm Trait, and this is Sims Picks My TBR. This is the first video that I am uploading in a month. It's not the first video I filmed, but it's the first video I'm uploading. November was a bit of a wild ride. The poor abused laptop that I use to edit my videos has pretty much given up. Editing videos just became so painful. It would take me at least 3 times as long to edit that amount of footage. I don't know if I'm explaining that right. So if I was editing 10 minutes of footage, it would take me like up to half an hour to edit that because of how slow and tired and old my laptop is. I have bought a new computer. It's not going to be with me until the middle of the month, but I am hoping that is gonna just change my life. I'll be able to use much better software and editing will hopefully not be quite as painful as it currently is. But I am editing this Christmas TBR for you because I am a saint. I also just want to apologise for our current filming situation. I have recently reorganised my reading room, which makes it difficult to film in there at the moment. It's also very dark in the UK this time of year, even during the day because it's so cloudy. And there's also building work going on just behind my back garden, so I could film in my living room, but there's literally like builders looking over the fence and that's too awkward for me. So we are filming in my bedroom, but I have finally given in and bought a ring light, so hopefully in the future I'll be able to have a little bit more flexibility with where I film, because now I've got that computer, I have no excuse for not like actually filming and uploading videos. Well, I film videos, but I have no excuse for not uploading them. Before we get into the video, let's just all take a moment to appreciate my Christmas jumper. This is called Gangster Santa and he's a babe. So November was supposed to be the month of NaNoWriMo. We're not going to talk about that. We're just going to forget that that ever happened and we're never speaking about it again on this channel. But because of that, I set myself a very easy TBR. I don't remember what each prompt was because I did not write it down and I didn't think to check the video until now. But the books I had were Skyward Volume 2, Laura Dean Keeps Breaking Up With Me, House of Salt and Sorrow. I also had The Sea Witch and Are These My Bazumas I See Before Me. And I read every single book on my TBR. Why are there people outside? There's literally 2 guys standing outside my house. One of them's licking his fingers and wiping the car. Wiping something off the car, like licking his finger, wiping the car, licking his finger, wiping the car. And that's disgusting. So for the first time ever, I read every single book on my TBR. Yes, it was tiny, but we're not going to talk about that. Let me just take this one. And I even managed to read additional books. So November was a great reading month for me and I am actually going to film a wrap up for November. But because I have read every single book on my TBR, I am going to give myself a reward for December. Now, initially I was just going to say that I could swap a book out and just mood read if I wanted to during the month. But then I did my TBR and realised I'm going to cheat on one of the prompts, and when we get to it I will tell you what the cheat is. So what prompts did I get for this month? So if you are new to Sims Picks My TBR, I just realised I haven't explained this, but if you're new to Sims Picks My TBR, how it works is every month I use a random prompt generator, which is linked in the description below if you want to check it out, to generate some random Sims traits, a random aspiration, and with the aspiration you get a bonus trait. I have assigned each trait, aspiration and bonus trait their own reading prompt, and I use that to pick my books for the month. The prompts are also linked in the description down below, and I have updated these since November. I did mention this in November's TBR, so feel free to have a look at them if you want. So for December, the traits that I got were Insider, and this is to read a book featuring a celebrity. Mean, and this is to read my longest book. Squeamish, this is a book containing gore or body horror. I had the aspiration of Curator, and this is to read a book that features on a best of list. I don't know why I'm doing this. And with the aspiration of Curator, you get the bonus trait of Collector, and this is to read a book where I own multiple books by the same author. Now, I still have quite a few books that I need to read to hit my Goodreads goal for the end of the year, and I was hoping to get some like kind of festive-y reads in here as well, and I think Sims Picks My TBR had just different plans for me this month. Usually it's fairly kind, but this month it was not. So first prompt, Insider. This is a book that has a celebrity in it. Insider, the Sims trait is all about like being popular and being in with the clubs. I'm actually wondering if that was the Insider trait. It's too late now. Editing Beth here. I got this wrong. It's not the Insider trait, it is the self-absorbed trait. I am going to keep the book that I picked for the Insider trait on my TBR for this month, but I'm going to add an additional book, and later on in this video I will confirm the book that I will be reading. So for this I have picked Mexican Gothic. Now there's not technically a celebrity in this book, I don't think, but I believe our main character is a socialite, Paris Hilton is a socialite, and Paris Hilton is a kind of celebrity, so we're using it. This was also on my 5-star predictions for 2020, so I really want to read this before the end of the year, and it's one of my most hyped books, so again I really want to read it. I'm glad that I am getting to read it in December, even though it doesn't really feel like a December book. Mexican Gothic is a gothic horror novel about a girl called Nomi who receives a letter from her cousin who has recently married a very wealthy older man, and her cousin tells her that she needs her to come and help. Some strange things are going on in the house where she lives with her husband, I think his father and his son, and so Nomi goes, and there's all sorts of weird and spooky things happening. As I said, this is a 5-star prediction, so I have very, very high hopes for this book, and I am excited to finally read it. The next prompt was Mean, and this was to read the longest book that I own. And this was definitely not a prompt that I wanted in December, when I kind of want to read short books so I can hit that Goodreads goal. Now luckily I have actually read 2 of my longest books in November. That was Way of Kings, which I actually ended up DNFing, and Crescent City, which I've nearly finished. I've got like 100 pages left of. So I think my next longest was Night Film, and I didn't actually, did I get that far in it? I didn't actually check to see how long this is compared to other books, but just looking at it, it looks a lot bigger than everything else on my shelf. Oh, it's only 587. I still think it's probably around the longest book on my shelves because I am not a lover of long books, so I don't own that many. I have started Night Film before and DNF'd it before. I didn't DNF it because I wasn't enjoying it. It just, sometimes a book is just not right for that moment in my life, and I just couldn't concentrate on it. I have got a bookmark in here, and the bookmark is on page 444, and I don't think I read that far into it. I think this bookmark is in the wrong place, but I'm gonna start from the beginning anyway, so it doesn't matter. Neverworld Wait by Marisha Pessl is one of my favourite books. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was so creepy and weird and unique, and so I was really hyped to read Night Film, and as I said, it just wasn't the right time for me to read it when I picked it up last time. Night Film is about a journalist called Scott McGrath who is investigating the death of Ashley Cordova, and Ashley Cordova is the daughter of a cult horror filmmaker who died under mysterious circumstances. I'm not sure if they were mysterious or not. I think so. It's ruled as suicide, but Scott believes that she has been murdered and he's investigating it with a group of unlikely characters. I am going to listen to the audiobook for this book this time, and because this is mixed media, I will be trying to follow along with the book, but I'm not very good at doing that, so that probably won't happen. So the next prompt was squeamish, and for this I have given it the prompt of gore. I am an incredibly squeamish person in real life. Insects, no. Bodily fluids, no. Gore, no. But when it comes to books, I just went with gore because it's a little bit more specific than just like anything that I find squeamish, and I feel like it's an actual genre in horror as well, and I can cope with gore. Although in real life it makes me squeamish, in a book I can cope with gore. I could not cope with a book that was about wasps. I would have a breakdown and I would probably throw up if it was a lot of gross stuff in it. So for squeamish, I'm going to be reading Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant. And this is my cheat book because I am over halfway through this book. I started it at some point in the summer. I think it was near my birthday actually. So it was probably on my August TBR, and I read it very, very slowly, and then eventually I just stopped reading it. I don't really know why. I was enjoying it. I just love books about mermaids. I don't know why I love books about mermaids so much, but I just do. And this was a dark mermaid horror book where the mermaids are not these like beautiful creatures, they are monsters. It's gory, it's scary. I read it when I was at the seaside, which maybe not the best place to read a book like this. I don't know why I didn't finish it, and I really want to finish this before the end of the year, so I decided instead of allowing myself to swap out a book and mood read throughout the month if I wanted to, that I would just allow myself to read a book that I've almost finished instead, because it's Christmas. And I read all my TBR. Our aspiration was curator, and the prompt for this was to pick a book that was on a best of list. I can basically pick any list that I want. So if I want to read sci-fi, I could pick best sci-fis of 2020 or best sci-fis of all time, whatever. I haven't specified it, so I can pick what I want. But for this, because we are in December, I just said, let's read one of the best books of 2020, and just looked through the list that came up on Google. I didn't like click into any websites. It was just like a list at the top. I've got a picture, you can see. And I just scrolled across until I saw a book that I had and hadn't read, because I've actually been quite on top with my new releases for 2020. Who is she? I don't know. And the book that I picked was The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin, and I am so glad that I managed to get this book onto my list before the end of the year. N.K. Jemisin is an author that I have really, really wanted to read from for a long time. I'm not 100% sure what this book is about, but I believe it is about New York City becoming sentient and some kind of monster trying to stop that from happening. I actually don't think I've heard very many reviews of this book. I know when it first came out it was very hyped. A lot of people were hauling it and adding it to TBRs, but I don't think I've actually seen anybody read it. So I don't know what to expect from this, but I've heard great things about N.K. Jemisin, so I'm really hoping that this is a book I like. And my bonus trait is collector, and this is to read a book where I own more than one book by that author. An author who I own multiple books from. That's a much clearer way of saying it. I don't actually own a lot of multiple works from the same author unless it's a series, and if I do, I've usually read them. One of the few authors who I own books from that I haven't read is V.E. Schwab, and I haven't yet read Addie LaRue, and I did really think about putting it on my TBR this month, and I ultimately decided I didn't want to because I don't know. I don't know why I decided I didn't want to. I really want to read that book, but sometimes, you know, when you're so hyped for a book, you just can't bring yourself to pick it up because you're like, the anticipation is just too much. Anyway, I didn't pick that book. Instead, I went with Queen Takes the Rose, which is the final book in the Wicked Villain series by Katie Roberts. This is a very kinky, dark romance. The characters in this book, I say that they are like Disney villains reimagined as gangsters who have a heart of gold underneath all the angst. They're characters mostly from fairy tales, but there's also some characters from myths and legends in there. So I just say Disney because you have like Sleeping Beauty. This one is Sleeping Beauty. Yeah, this one is Sleeping Beauty. You also have like Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, but then you also have Hercules. I really enjoy these books. They are quick, easy, fun books to read, and that's probably one of the reasons why it made it onto my TBR this month, because I still have like at least 9 books to read, which if we were doing this in 2019 that would be fine, but 2020 Beth as a reader is just a mess. So these are the books that I will be reading for, this is a wonky pile. I am gonna drop this. Oh my god, I'm gonna drop it. Okay. Oh no, that. So these are the books that I will be reading in December for Sims Picks My TBR. I have Mexican Gothic, which is a book featuring a celebrity for the insider trait. I have Night Film, which is my kind of longest book for the mean trait. I have Into the Drowning Deep, which is a gory book for the squeamish trait. I have The City We Became, which is a book featured in the best books of 2020 list, and this is for the curator aspiration. And lastly, we have Queen Takes the Rose by Katie Roberts, who is an author that I own multiple books from, and that is for the bonus trait collector. So in addition to that, I have another pile of books that I want to try and get to in December. The first is Library of the Unwritten. This was a book that I think was on my October TBR, and I DNF'd at page 66. Not because I wasn't enjoying this, I was just very shocked by what the book was like. I had expected something quite dark and atmospheric, but this is actually quite light-hearted and funny. So it just was kind of jarring with my expectations. So I decided to put it down for a little bit because I couldn't really enjoy it. So this is a book about a library in hell full of unfinished books. And from time to time, the books will try and escape. And the librarian, a lady called Claire, is responsible for making sure that this doesn't happen. One day, one of the books does escape and goes to try and find his author, and Claire has to go and track him down. I do think I'm going to enjoy this book. It's just was so different to what I was expecting. It was just a very jarring experience. So I'm looking forward to giving this book another try. I also want to read Hollowpot. I've read every Morgan Crow book around Christmas, and I just want to read this around Christmas. This is the kind of book that just fills me with like warm Christmassy vibes. I think the second book was set at Christmas, so that's probably why. But yeah, I just want to read this book because it's great. This is the third in the Morgan Crow series, and the Morgan Crow series is a middle grade series about a girl, Morgan Crow, who, and I can only tell you from the first book, she is a cursed child, fated to die on her, I believe, 11th birthday. And because of this, she is like blamed for everything that goes wrong in the town where she lives. And on her 11th birthday, rather than dying, because that would make for a very short series, Morgan Crow is visited by a man called Jupiter North, who takes her to the magical place of Nevermore, where he is trying to enroll her in a special school for especially gifted children. It's a really beautiful series. It's just so cute. It's cute, it's wholesome, it's feel good, and it can definitely feel that Harry Potter shaped hole in our hearts. This is the one to do it. So the self-absorbed trait is to read a book that is completely within my comfort zone. So as Hollowpox is the third in a series, and it's a series that I know that I love, I feel like this is 100% within my comfort zone, and so I am going to be adding this officially to my TBR for December. This does mean I have additional books to read in December after giving myself a reward, but that is just how the book gods roll. Although I said I didn't want to read it, I am also very tentatively putting The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue on my TBR for December because I do want to read it, I just don't want the pressure of having to read it. So if I have the time, if I have the brain power, I might pick this book up. I also want to read Queenie as I have the audiobook from my library, so I obviously want to listen to that before it runs out. I don't actually know what Queenie is about. I believe it's about like race and mental health. It was purely a cover buy for me because I really love this cover, and I got the audiobook because I thought if I don't, I probably will never read this because it doesn't really look like my kind of book. And the last book that I am hoping to get to in December is The Afterlife of Holly Chase. I have had this book for 3 years. I have tried to read it every year and I have not read it any of those years. This is I was going to say Nightmare Before Christmas, but that's not what it's called. This is a Christmas Carol retelling from the perspective of the ghosts of Christmas past? Yeah, Ghosts of Christmas Past, set in the present day. I have heard really good things about this. I don't know why I have not read it. I really want to read it, and this is the last chance I am giving this book. If I don't read this book this year, it's getting unhauled. Okay, so that is my massive tentative TBR for December. If I read all of those books, I will hit my Goodreads goal, but reading is done for pleasure, so if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But wish me luck anyway. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you've made it this far, then please leave a festive emoji in the comments down below to let me know that you were here. And if you've read any of these books or you've got any recommendations for me, then please let me know that too. If you want to see more videos from me, then please don't forget to like and subscribe, and hopefully you'll come back and see me soon.